Bria Hartley just made WNBA history, and not the kind anyone wants to be remembered for. Because when you become the first player to get sued and suspended for a violent on-court incident, we're not talking about a heated moment or aggressive defense. We're talking about assault. Real, actual, see you in court assault. And the victim? Sophie Cunningham, one of the league's grittiest, most beloved enforcers, and the muscle behind protecting rookie star Caitlin Clark on the Indiana Fever. This isn't just a scuffle gone wrong. This is the kind of moment that exposes everything wrong with how the WNBA is handling physicality, safety, and accountability. And it's unraveling fast. Let's set the scene. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Fourth quarter. Tensions high. Sophie Cunningham is doing what she always does, getting physical, being loud, throwing her body around for her team. Bria Hartley is matched up with her, and from the opening whistle, you could tell this was personal. The pushing, the elbows, the stare-downs. It was escalating by the minute. Then it happens. Bria Hartley throws a blatant elbow. Not a nudge, not a bump. An elbow that lands square in Sophie's ribcage and drops her. You can see Sophie buckle. You can hear the thud on the broadcast. She tries to get up and can't. Seconds pass. The refs? Silent. No whistle. No call. And Bria? She just walks away. Fans are screaming. Players are crowding around. Sophie's helped off the court and eventually carted to the locker room. Later, it's confirmed. Season-ending injury. Broken ribs. Torn cartilage. Done. And Bria? Suspended, yes, but only after the internet exploded with clips, breakdowns, and calls for action. The league didn't act until the outrage was loud enough to trend. That delay, that silence, it told everyone watching exactly what the league priorities are right now, and it's clearly not player safety. Now, let's be clear, this isn't Bria Hartley's first brush with dirty play. Far from it. Fans have been calling her the league's most reckless defender for years. She's had flagrant fouls, techs, even ejections. But this was something else. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment foul. This was targeted, intentional, malicious. And Sophie Cunningham? She wasn't just any player. She was Indiana's enforcer, the vet who protected Caitlin Clark when refs didn't, the teammate who set hard screens, took charges, and went chest-to-chest with anyone getting too bold with the rookie. She was that player, scrappy, relentless, unapologetic. Every team needs one. Now she's sidelined, her season wrecked. And Indiana? Left vulnerable. Without Sophie on the floor, Caitlin Clark just became a bigger target. And if you think Bria's move was an isolated incident, think again. This season has been riddled with violent contact, late hits, body checks, and unanswered fouls, especially when it comes to rookies. Caitlin A.R. McDonald, Sydney Colson. The list of injured or battered players this year just keeps growing. And the refs? Either blind, indifferent, or too afraid to make calls that might slow down the so-called physicality of the game. But let's stop right there. Because physicality has become the league's favorite excuse. They love to talk about how tough the W is, how gritty, how intense. And sure, that's part of the appeal. You want contact. You want defense. You want emotion. That's basketball. But there's a difference between toughness and targeting. There's a line between aggressive and dangerous. And Bria Hartley crossed it. Now, thanks to that elbow, we're entering new territory. Legal action. That's right, Sophie Cunningham is suing. And honestly, good. Because this isn't just about getting suspended for a game or two. This is about setting a precedent. A message. You can't just go out there and someone sees it with a dirty hit and walk away with a slap on the wrist. Bria Hartley is facing a lawsuit for intentional bodily harm during a professional game. That's huge. We've rarely seen anything like this in women's sports. And if this goes to court and sets a legal standard, it could change everything. Not just for the WNBA, but for professional sports in general. Because let's ask the big, uncomfortable question. If the league won't protect its players, who will? Players are now turning to lawyers because the refs aren't doing their jobs. The league office is dragging its feet. And the commissioner? Dead silent. Where's Kathy Engelbert? Why hasn't there been a press conference? A statement? Anything? A player was assaulted. The league is being sued. Another rookie is unprotected. Fans are angry. And the people in charge are hiding behind corporate platitudes and media silence. Meanwhile, Indiana is unraveling. With Cunningham gone, the locker room energy has shifted. The team's physical edge? Gone. The tension on the court? Palpable. And Caitlin? Getting fouled harder, bumped more, and left to defend herself with no enforcer at her side. The worst part? You can feel the fear creeping in, not just for Caitlin, for everyone. Players are talking about it in interviews. You can hear it in their voices. We just have to play through it. Lines are laced with anxiety. No one wants to say it outright, but it's obvious. If the league keeps letting this happen, someone's going to get seriously hurt, like career-ending hurt. And still, no league-wide plan. No announcement about rule changes. No referee retraining. Just vague promises and a suspension that came after public outrage. So now fans are wondering, is this a league you want us to support? One where safety is optional? Where dirty players stay in rotation until someone tweets about it? Where accountability only kicks in once lawyers are involved? And it's not just fans. Analysts are starting to speak out. Former players. Journalists. Everyone's asking the same thing. What is going on in the W right now? The culture has shifted. The message this season has been, hit hard, stay silent, and hope the cameras miss it. And Bria Hartley? She took that message and ran with it, right into Sophie Cunningham's ribcage. And now, we're watching the fallout unfold in real time. Sophie's season is over. Bria's image is tanked. The league's leadership is under fire. And Caitlin Clark? Exposed again, with her protector gone and a target growing on her back. And still, the WNBA hasn't made any sweeping changes. What will it take? Another lawsuit? A player stretchered off in a playoff game? A mass player protest? Because here's the thing. If the players don't feel protected, they will protect themselves. And that's when things really get out of control. When teammates start retaliating. When fouls turn into fights. When the court becomes a battleground instead of a basketball game. That's the direction we're heading. Fast. And all because the league wants to market toughness without providing protection. It's the same problem, over and over again. Big talk, no action. The culture let them play has gone unchecked, and now we're watching it backfire in the worst possible ways. So let's be crystal clear. This isn't about one hit. This isn't about one player. This is about a system that refuses to evolve. If the WNBA wants to be taken seriously, not just as a competitive league, but as a professional one, it needs to start acting like it. That means enforcing discipline, protecting players, training refs, supporting victims, setting standards. And if you think this Bria Hartley situation is just some isolated drama that'll fade in a few news cycles, think again, because this isn't just a moment. It's a turning point, one of those flashbulb events that defines how a league is remembered or how it collapses. Let's zoom out for a second. Sophie Cunningham's injury wasn't just devastating because she's a fan favorite or a key player for Indiana. It was devastating because it revealed the entire breakdown of enforcement and accountability across the WNBA. You've got players throwing elbows. You've got refs swallowing whistles. You've got a league that wants to promote a gritty, intense image, but doesn't want to deal with the blowback when players take it too far. And now, legal action is officially on the table, and the WNBA is unprepared. Let's talk about that lawsuit again, because this is uncharted territory. In a league that prides itself on unity and sisterhood, this isn't just an on-court beef. This is a player saying, the system failed me, so I'm going around it. And you know what? She's not wrong. If Bria Hartley's history of reckless fouling and dangerous play had been dealt with properly by the league before this incident, Sophie might still be playing. But the WNBA kept brushing off game after game, season after season. Play through it. Let them figure out on the court. It's part of the game. No, it's not. What we're seeing now isn't part of the game. It's the result of years of ignoring the warning signs. Bria Hartley has a rap sheet. This isn't her first flagrant. This isn't her first. Oops, my elbow slipped. Players and fans alike have been calling her out for years. But nothing happened. She kept getting minutes, kept showing up on starting rosters, kept doing what she does best, playing dangerously close to the edge and sometimes well over it. And the league looked the other way. So when that elbow landed in Sophie's ribs, that wasn't just on Bria. That was on everyone who let her get away with it before. The coaches, the refs, the front office, the commissioner, they all had a hand in this. And now they want to act surprised? Please. And let's not forget what this does to team dynamics. Cunningham wasn't just an enforcer. She was the bridge between the vets and the rookies. She was the glue in Indiana's locker room, the vocal, no BS teammate who kept the energy up even when they were getting clobbered in the standings. Without her, the Fever aren't just missing defense. They're missing identity. And now, with her sidelined, the younger players, especially Caitlin Clark, are left completely exposed. And you know what happens when the refs don't make calls? When the team doesn't have backup, when the league doesn't step in. Players start handling things themselves. And that's when the game stops being basketball and starts being something else, something uglier. We're already seeing it. Watch any Fever game now. You'll notice the physicality around Caitlin has actually increased since Sophie went down. Harder screens, longer holds, chest bumps on cuts. People are testing her because they can, because they know there's no Sophie to step in, because they know the refs won't blow the whistle, because the league has shown it'll only act after something goes viral. And the other teams, they're watching this unfold like a blueprint. If the WNBA doesn't send a message with the Hartley case, you can expect more of this. More players going rogue. More intentional fouls disguised as defense. More career-threatening injuries written off as part of the game. And this isn't just bad for the athletes. It's bad for business. Because the one thing the WNBA cannot afford right now is to lose the trust of its fans. And that's exactly what's happening. Fans aren't stupid. They see what's going on. They saw the hit. They saw the no-call. They saw Sophie clutching her ribs while Bria walked away smirking. And they're pissed. You can feel it in the comment sections, in the tweets, in the sideline conversations at games. People are no longer just criticizing the players. They're turning on the league itself. Where's the accountability? Why does Bria still have a contract? Why hasn't the commissioner addressed this? Is this what we're supporting? That last one? That's the dangerous one. Because once fans start questioning the product, it's a slippery slope to leaving the product, especially new fans. The ones who showed up for Caitlin Clark. The ones who fell in love with the Sophie-Caitlin dynamic. The ones who were buying merch, watching games, spreading the hype. Those people, they're watching Sophie get bodied and Bria barely punished, and they're wondering, what exactly are we investing in here? And that's the WNBA's biggest blind spot. They don't realize that this generation of fans expects more transparency, more action, more protection for the players they love. This isn't the 90s. We're not buying into a league just because it exists. We're buying in because we believe in the people on the court, and when they get hurt and nobody stands up for them, that belief fades. And don't even get started on the league's messaging. In the same week Sophie got flattened, the WNBA social media was still posting cutesy highlight reels and girl power graphics like everything was fine. Meanwhile, a player is injured, another is being sued, and the fan base is demanding answers. The disconnect? Brutal. This is why people are saying the league feels out of touch. Because it is. The W wants to be respected like the NBA, but it's still operating like a startup, reactive, inconsistent, and terrified of confrontation. But confrontation is exactly what's needed right now. Because if they don't face the music soon, the players will take matters into their own hands. And when that happens, it won't be pretty. Don't be shocked if you start seeing more lawsuits. This case with Bria Hartley is opening a door, a legal one. And if the precedent is set, that players can sue for damages when the league fails to protect them, brace yourself. Because that floodgate is going to explode. There's a long list of injuries that were quietly swept under the rug. Elbows, knees, shoulders, Players who never fully recovered. Players whose careers stalled because of dirty plays that were never punished. And now, they're watching Sophie take her case to court and wondering, could I have done that too? And if enough of them say yes, the WNBA won't just have a PR problem. It'll have a legal one. One that could change the way discipline, enforcement, and even player contracts are handled from now on. Because let's not forget, this is their workplace. And if any other workplace allowed this kind of unchecked violence, there'd be investigations, firings, lawsuits, public apologies. So why is the WNBA still pretending it's just part of the game? The game has changed. The culture has changed. And the league needs to catch up fast. Because the court may look like hardwood, but right now, it feels like quicksand. And the longer they wait to act, the deeper they sink. And here's where it gets even darker. Because when you start looking beyond Bria Hartley's suspension and the headlines around Sophie Cunningham's injury, what you start to see is the slow collapse of trust between the players and the league. And that's the kind of breakdown you can't repair with a press release. Let's get one thing straight. Players are not stupid. They know when they're being protected and when they're being sacrificed for a storyline. And increasingly, the message from WNBA leadership feels less like, we got your back, and more like, if it gets views, deal with it. That Bria Hartley hit wasn't just violent. It was symbolic. It was a moment where everything boiled over. A moment where players, fans, even coaches were finally like, this isn't basketball anymore. This is something else. Because what happened to Sophie Cunningham? That wasn't just a hard foul. That was workplace violence. That was a systemic failure from top to bottom. From the refs, who stood there stunned, to the league, who took days to respond, to the team, who had to scramble for damage control. And you want to talk about consequences? Let's talk about what this means to the players who haven't been hurt yet. Because now, every single woman in that league is stepping on the court knowing the rules have changed, that intentional violence can be brushed off, that assault can be labeled as aggressive play, that someone can take you out, break your ribs, end your season, and still be allowed to suit up a week later if the lawyers weren't involved. Do you think that doesn't affect the way players care themselves? You think that doesn't shift their entire approach? Now every screen, every drive, every rebound feels just a little more dangerous. Because the WNBA has shown that it will hesitate to act, even when the damage is already done. So what happens next? Here's what's quietly brewing. Players are beginning to talk among themselves. The group chats, the texts, the off-the-record interviews. It's happening. They're talking about forming a coalition to demand safety reforms. Not just fines and suspensions, but structural, top-down changes to how fouls are called, how repeat offenders are handled, and how the league communicates any of this to the public. And this isn't just about this one lawsuit. It's about players realizing, finally, that they need to protect each other. Because the league won't. Let that sink in. You've got a league that relies on player unity, that sells the idea of sisterhood and support and community. But when push comes to shove, literally, those same players are left bleeding on the hardwood with no real accountability in sight. And if the sisterhood can't count on the league to back them up, then what's left? You think Caitlin Clark isn't watching this unfold and calculating? You think Angel Reese doesn't notice who gets protected and who gets punished? You think veterans like Diana Taurasi and Skylar Diggins-Smith, who've been through every phase of this league's growing pains, aren't furious watching the next generation face the same garbage they thought they left behind? Let's talk long-term implications. Because if the WNBA doesn't fix this now, the fallout could define the next decade of this league. First, player retention. If the league becomes known as a place where injuries are mishandled and safety is optional, it won't just be veterans walking away. It'll be rookies refusing to come in the first place. Why risk your career in a league that lets dirty plays slide because it's good TV? Why trust your body to a system that only acts when there's a public outcry? And that leads directly into international defections. It's already happening. Players like Liz Cambridge, Jonquil Jones, and Maureen Johannes have all taken their talents overseas for better pay, better support, and, yes, better treatment. If the W continues down this path, it won't just lose its stars. It'll lose its soul. The best players will leave. the next generation will hesitate to join. And all that momentum the league gained over the last few years? Gone. And we haven't even talked about sponsorship perception, because no brand wants to be aligned with a league under legal fire. Sophie Cunningham's lawsuit is now public knowledge. Every time there's a development, every time Bria Hartley's name trends for the wrong reason, those headlines hit the desks of marketing execs. And what they're seeing is not empowering female athletes or trailblazing professionalism. They're seeing a league in chaos, unprotected stars, lack of leadership, and a fan base demanding accountability that never comes. Brands don't stick around for that. Not unless you show them you're rebuilding, that you've taken responsibility, that you're actually implementing change. And that's where the WNBA has failed. Zero transparency. Not one meaningful statement from the league since the incident. Not one clear explanation of suspension terms. No direct comment from Kathy Engelbert. No referee review. No public discipline reports. Just silence. Corporate, calculated silence. And that silence is being interpreted as complicity. You cannot sell the idea of player empowerment while turning a blind eye to violent retaliation on the court. You cannot claim to be a professional league while behaving like a college program trying to avoid bad PR. You cannot expect loyalty from fans when you show zero loyalty to the athletes who built this league from the ground up. And if that sounds dramatic, good, because the reality is dramatic. You have a player who was intentionally injured, another player who clearly crossed a line, a league that took days to respond, and now a legal battle that could alter how player conduct is judged forever. This is not business as usual. This is the moment the WNBA decides what kind of league it wants to be. Is it the league that protects its athletes, that values safety over showmanship, that calls out violence even when it's inconvenient? Or is it the league that stays quiet until the hashtags trend? Because right now, the players are watching, the fans are watching, and the legal system also watching. The Bria Hartley situation has cracked something open, and there's no closing it now. Either the WNBA steps up and takes control of this narrative, or the narrative takes control of them. The league can't afford another hit, not to a player, not to its reputation, not to the fragile trust it spent years building. This isn't just about a lawsuit. It's about the future, and it's hanging by a thread.